Here we are on another amazing episode of the DPT to CEO podcast. Whether you are checking us out here in the Facebook group, or if you're catching us on YouTube or on the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, here we are. And I'm really excited to bring you guys a special guest today. Matt and I have been internet friends for a little while, so I'm excited to, share Matt's stuff with you guys here. And, before we jump into it too, if you are a therapist out there and you are wanting to start your own practice, start your own business, you definitely check out some of the stuff that we have for the DPT to CEO program at Meese.com. But yeah, without further ado, welcome, Dr. Matt.
Hey, thank you so much. I like internet friends is a good way of putting it. I support you from afar. We connect. I'm like, Morgan, we gotta hang out. Like, how are things going?
Yeah.
So it's internet friends.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And I think one of my favorite things about getting into this, just starting my practice and starting a business, has been like meeting other therapists across the country, and meeting people across the world and everything, and just learning about all the different ways that we as PTs can have a career and everything. So I'm glad that we started this journey to friendship, Matt.
Yes, me too.
So, first thing on our agenda, if you don't mind, Matt, telling us a little bit about you, your story, your lore, and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I'm a physical therapist by trade. I actually graduated from Duke PT's program in 2019. And as I was graduating, I knew I wanted to do, I knew doing full-time PT wasn't going to be for me. So I'm a little bit outside the box a little bit. And while I was in PT school, I was already coaching online. I was doing strength and conditioning for CrossFitters, weightlifters, powerlifters, just getting people jacked and strong. When it came time to graduate, I realized, or I knew pretty much right then and there, that I didn't want to go get a traditional 9 to 5 clinic job. So instead, I continued, and I wanted to do is just pursue more of the online stuff, because I really enjoyed coaching people online, and I could still use a lot of the skill sets and the problem solving and everything that I got from PT school in the online realm. So when I graduated in 2019, I went and worked at a cash-based practice as a contractor and was helping them a little bit about their marketing stuff too, while I was building an online health coaching business. So did that from 2019 through 2021. And really 2020, it was pandemic time too, where things really in the online space took off. So in 2020, probably a year, maybe a year and a half out of PT school, I went all in to the online stuff. And I was running some Facebook ads and stuff for the PT clinic, but I wasn't treating anymore. Yeah, took that leap and have continued to be there. And now my role since 2021, 2022, it's merged a little bit more into the business coaching consulting realm, where I do help a lot of PTs, chiropractors, strength and conditioning experts, and just health coaches, even some life coaches. Yeah, help them create online offers, learn how to market it, and learn how to grow it. So that's what I'm up to. I love business and systems and numbers. And honestly, that's why I liked even PT and more so exercise programming, because it was all numbers. It was all right, you're doing this percentage or this many reps. This is what your target is. And it was just, I like numbers, and I didn't realize how much I like numbers. And then when I started running business, I was like, look at these numbers. And and there's more KPIs to track. And yeah, so I'm just a nerd. I'm just a nerd who likes to teach other people nerdy things too.
Oh my gosh. No, that's awesome. And I'm right there with you. I, definitely data analysis, through the business is a little bit newer to me within the past couple of years, but it's so cool because it's just all of this objective information that you can analyze and truly see, just I guess clinical outcome measures, whether what you're doing is working in the business, and it's not so much just praying and hoping that things keep working, but through the numbers you can really grow the business.
Yeah, and sometimes and you might not know exactly what's wrong or whatever, but you at least have you can use our favorite scientific method, right? So it's
Yeah.
my hypothesis is that this is why I'm not growing. And then you can test it, which we do in PT too. So it's crazy how many, and we were talking offline before this, but how much PT and even strength and conditioning and going to the gym and all of that relates so much to growing a business. And yeah, it's just fun.
I know. I feel like that's like the biggest thing about this whole like journey and pathway, like transitioning from like I guess like typical like staff PT to learning how to work for yourself. It's obviously like really hard, but it's so much fun to carve your own path and everything. And I know we wanted to like talk more a little bit about how like business can like emulate the world of exercise and fitness and health. So I guess like tell us a little bit more about how you see things that way.
Yeah, it's just such a good analogy, right? So, because well, first off, there's like consistency matters over everything, right? So when we talk of fitness or even somebody getting out of pain and like sticking to a routine, it's like all about activity modification, right? And staying consistent to that. And so much of that is in business too, because like when you get started with business, you don't have any clients. And like, all right, you're like, all right, I'm gonna start posting on social media. And it might take you, 3 months, 6 months before you start seeing any traction from that. And it relates similar to exercise. Where like, sometimes if you're new to exercise, you might get some newbie gains. But for the most part, like, it takes a long time to see a lot of change, right? When you go to the gym, and it could take you months of dieting and training to hit certain goals. Like for me in the strength sports realm, where I coach Olympic weightlifting, which is like snatch and clean and jerk. Man, we would train for like 6 months just to add a couple kilos, which is like, 2.2 pounds, everybody, 1 kilo, to a lift, and it was just like, all right, well, sometimes those are long sessions, 60 to 90-minute sessions of just training and being like, I really hope in 3 to 6 months I can hit this thing.
Yeah.
And it relates so much to business because there's ups and downs, just like weight loss or any type of pain. And like, like in therapy, there's ups and downs. And regardless of those ups and downs, like the most important thing you can do is stay consistent and keep showing up and keep putting yourself out there. And it's the small, and it's just taking those actions over really like decades, really, for you really to see substantial changes. So it's like that's one, and I'll share one more, then you can chime
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
the consistency factor, and then the other one, oh, what was I gonna say? I totally just lost it as I said that.
It's okay.
All right, yeah, you chime in, and it'll come back to me.
It will. It will. I see it. It's in there. Well, I think like I was telling you before, like I really wanted to like put out some content around like this idea of like business being very much like exercise and like training and any kind of like fitnessy goal. So I'm like really happy that we're talking about this. But I think like one of the biggest things that I try to remind myself of and remind my clients of when it comes to growing your business is like we worry a lot about the outcomes and about the
Mm,
results, and we worry a lot about like getting the clients or losing the weight or adding the weight to the barbell. Like, we worry a lot about that like end outcome goal. And I think that one of the things that's really helped me just like mental health wise, I think across all these domains, is worrying less about the outcome and using that as like a north star to keep me like pointed in the right direction and to help me like stay on track and like mold the things that I'm doing so that they're with an intention like towards that end goal, but I'm not measuring my success on the end goal anymore. It's a directional point. It's not like the be all end all. And instead, what I've been trying to focus a lot more on with like fitness and business stuff, and what I encourage people to do, is worry more about the progress and about your input. So
mm,
like I've worked really hard this year to design like my goals for the year based on my own input rather than the output, because I will succeed, because I know I will do the work. I will put in like the time and effort that I need to reach the input goals, to reach the progress goals of just like daily, weekly, monthly habits of things where it's just my own action is like a check mark. Like I've completed the goal if I put in the actual effort. And so like the same thing with training, like if you have this end goal of, well, I know for me, I want to deadlift 400 pounds, only 65 pounds shy. So I'm on my way.
I didn't know
Great.
you're that strong, Morgan. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like
Just
little
a
subtle
casual
brag.
400 pounds.
But, instead of like focusing so much on that and like, okay, well, I know what I can do is like practice deadlifting at least once a week.
Mhm.
And like over time, that consistency is just going to build up. So eventually I get there. But the focus is just on like, what can I do today? What can I do this week that will get me one step further? And the same thing with business, like
Yeah.
what do you have like the power to control and take action on? Because as long as it's like related to what the end goal is, it's going to help you get there. So those are some of my thoughts chiming in, Matt.
Yeah, no, I love that because it's what we're in Q4 Q2 already. Q4 we're in
Q4,
Q2.
Matt, don't scare me.
We're in Q2 already, and my team's like, we gotta set Q2 goals, and I'm like, man, I already know what I'm doing. Like, I like the process of like our inputs are feel so dialed in right now, to where I'm like, sure, we can set goals about how many clients we sign, how much money we make. That's great, but like, I can't control, like you said, we can't control that. What we can control is the actions we're taking, and like, if you're new here and you're starting a business, like, just some simple ones that you can take is like, I'm gonna post one piece of content at least 5 days a week. Like that's something that you can do, right? And then a bonus one is like, maybe once a month you can host a live masterclass, or a workshop, or you create a one new like lead magnet to give out to people that teaches them something and provides value. And like for me, for the longest time, that was always what I did. It's like, all right, I posted at least 5 times a week. And then I'm going to do one lead magnet or live event. And that's a great place to get started. And then as you build like more systems around it, you can start to add more stuff. But like, you don't need to do that to start, right? You need to build a process, build a routine. And the other thing that I knew it was in my head, I lost it, was you got to fall in love with the process,
Yeah.
and the people in fitness and in CrossFit and weightlifting and even PT, the patients and clients that get the best results, they just love doing the thing. Like if you hated deadlifts, you probably wouldn't reach that goal, right?
No.
Like if you hate your home exercise plan, you're probably not going to do it. And then
Yeah.
your pain's going to be persistent, or it's going to come back in a couple months. And the same thing goes with business. If you hate creating content, which there's a lot of people that they do, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, oh, because I want to make money and leave this job and blah, blah, blah. It's like, so you're only doing this for the outcome. Like you don't actually like this. If you don't like this, you're not going to be successful. And that's really hard for people, but you have to like it. And if you don't like marketing and you don't like sales, then you probably shouldn't be an entrepreneur or a business owner. And that's okay, but don't just do it for the money, because you're not going to be happy.
Yeah. Absolutely, Matt. Couldn't have said it better myself. Because that's what I like always talk about. And I feel like there's like there has to be like some kind of word. I was talking to my last guest about this too. I just feel like there's something like internal, I know for me, where I'm like, I want to like live and breathe this business stuff, whether it's like working with the handful of patients that I do because I enjoy it, or like just helping other healthcare providers learn how to start businesses. Like I could talk about that all day. I love it, and then also like marketing, like we were talking about, like just the process of marketing is fun, and so like that's what I love, like waking up every day and being like, I can't wait to just like go do stuff that I like, but if you are, like you were saying, if you're just doing it to get out of the job that you have, but you don't want to really do any of the work to get the end result, like you said, you're not going to be successful. It's going to make it really hard to gain any momentum if you're not interested in putting any of the beginner like effort in.
Yeah. And it's like, you're also going to be looking for those quick wins. So it's like, you'll be looking for fad diets, right? I'm looking for this quick fix or this thing. And business is a very long-term game. And if you market in a short-term way of like, get rich fit quick or do this fast, like, unless, it can really hurt. It can really hurt your brand and reputation. So it's like, you gotta like it. There's no quick fixes and anything in life, business, fitness, that's just, it's performance enhancement drugs and stuff like that. but really, like there's not, you know what I mean? So it is it's just falling in love with the process and the inputs and staying consistent with them long enough to see like the results that you really are excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you guys who are listening, especially if you are new to this or like haven't like started a business yet, there's like a lot that's going to happen as you're starting a business, and there's a lot that you have to do. And I think the other piece that like I want to put out there, and see what you think about this, Matt, I think we kind of like touched on it a little bit already, is like emphasizing that you don't have to do like all of it right now. Like, you don't have to try to learn like marketing all today. It's going to be a process and it's going to take time, and like, for example, like if you want to run a marathon and you've never run a day in your life, you have to learn how to run a mile first before you can run 26 of them. So, you will have to learn how to make a post on Instagram before you can post 5 times a week, And yes, there are like ideal, I guess, like frequencies that we want to be doing our marketing. But, if you can't commit to that right now this week, that's okay. Pick something that you can stick to on the same frequency, on the same like regular basis, reach that first milestone and learn how to run your first mile. Then you can move on to mile number 2 from there. And that's also like another way that I like to approach it too.
Yeah, it's kind of like, drink your water first. Cool. You're eating good quality foods. Great. Now we can get into calories and we can, if you're tracking macros and stuff, you don't just start full. I mean, I never did. Just like, all right, here are your macros. It's like, well, let's get to that point where it makes sense to track those things too. It's all stepwise. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, exactly. Like with like just healthy habits, if you have 0 healthy habits and then you're like, okay, 100 ounces of water a day, working out once a day, walking 10,000 steps a day, like you said, the macro thing, making sure you're sleeping 8 to 9 hours a night, meditating, journaling, reading, like just all these things, like all of a sudden it's a lot, it's overwhelming, and it makes it really hard to stick to. And so same thing when you're starting your business or implementing like a new marketing strategy, just simple things and like one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
I hope everybody listening is taking notes.
I know. It's like, man, I know we're going to talk more, but I hope everyone took notes on that specific part because it is so important.
Yeah. And like, I know for me, like I think I'm 4.5 years into working for myself. And Matt, did I see, is next year like your 10-year anniversary of working for yourself?
Yeah. Yes. And so I was like, I started my coaching business in 2015. Well, and that was before PT school. So I was still in PT school during that time. But yeah, in total, I've had an LLC and of supporting clients for 10 years. That's cool. Thanks for calling that out. I didn't realize that. I feel old.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, and like I bring that up because like everybody who is listening and you're just getting started, or even if you are like 4 or 10 years into it, you guys know like it's a learning process and it takes a lot of time. Like you were saying, Matt, there's no quick fixes. And if you're going to do this and start a business, like lock in because you're going to be here for a while.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it reminded me, I made a post recently. Like it took me 5 years before I hit my first $10,000 a month. And I don't, now knowing what I know, I could do it a lot faster, but I had to go through all of that time to learn, understand like concepts. And, I've definitely served and worked with plenty of people who've done that in 6 to 12 months. But, I'm actually really glad and grateful that it did take me so long, because I have a greater appreciation for it. And yeah, I feel like I can see it in a different light, but if my whole goal from day one was to make $10,000 a month and I didn't hit it in a year or two, I probably would have quit, but at the time when I started it before school, I was just like, happy to do it, happy to do it. I could pay the rent and pay some bills and stuff like that, which was super cool while I was in PT school. It's like, yeah, I'm making some money in PT school,
Yeah.
but but I didn't have the goal like while I was in PT school or even after to be like, yeah, 10K a month automatically. And I didn't expect that. And I think, man, I think it can be really deceptive too in the marketing too, because like, I mean, we're business coaches. I definitely haven't been the best at this either, of like setting expectations. Like when we, in marketing, because in marketing, you're sharing, like most people, business coaches do, like they'll share their best client wins. Like this client went from here to here in this time period. And, that's 10-20% of the population that you work with are typically the ones that are marketed. So, so it's like, I think that, yeah, the online space in general, it seems, I mean, marketers make it seem easy, and
Yeah.
it's simple, but it's not easy. Do you know what I mean? Like the steps are simple, right? Here's how to market. Here's how to do it. Do these things. And here's your kind of checklist. But the quality of them, like how to actually do them good, that's where the 5-10 years of experience comes in, of like, how do I know what a good post is? Well, you got to make a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are going to bomb. And those are the ones that you're going to learn from, right? It's just like, how did I know it was a good rep on a deadlift or not? Well, you probably deadlift thousands of reps. And when you started the first year or two, they probably were not good.
Yeah.
You might have got hurt, maybe not, but like you probably were just like picking something off the ground.
Yeah.
And then, after a couple of years, you're like, oh yeah, now I get how to brace. Oh, I get those cues now. But if you tell
Mhm.
someone to pick up a barbell, hey, yeah, flat back, do this, do this, do this, they're gonna look at you like you're crazy. They're gonna be like, just pick it up. Yeah, 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 yeah. And that's
You
pretty
know?
much what somebody needs when you start. And then you're like, okay, now try this. Okay, cool. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's it's so funny because like it just reminds me of like specifically me. I didn't even learn to like use my lats in a deadlift until probably 2 years ago. Like just not at all. And I was like, oh, this is like way easier if I like use my muscles, Matt. But like you said, you have to start somewhere. And I think that kind of like leads us into the next piece, which I told you I wanted to talk to you about is just
Mhm.
like taking initiative and taking action and being proactive about what you're wanting to do. And for everybody listening, I was telling Matt, this is like probably the reason I'm like one of Matt's biggest fans is because I love with his marketing strategy and his approach to it that it's so proactive. Like you're always out there, at least from what I can see online,
Oh,
like putting yourself out there and offering really helpful information. And then, like, on the back end, from what I've seen you describe, like you're actively reaching out to people to talk to them, to help
yeah.
them, to offer your services like every single day. And I would love to like hear more from you, I guess, just like your thoughts on like approaching marketing this way for the
Mhm.
people out there who are starting a business in business and they feel like they're in a place where they're stuck. They can't find any clients. They need referral sources to run their business, and they just aren't really sure how to start marketing for themselves. That's a big
Yeah.
question, but what do you think?
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, yeah. So I refer to like this the old strategy is like just post and pray, right? You're gonna
Yeah.
post. Yeah, all right. I'm posting, Matt. I'm posting 5 times a week. I'm doing this master class. I'm getting people, whatever. But like that's like step one. But people, if you have a small following and a small audience, like 99% of us do, especially like PTs like to use big jargons and stuff when we're marketing, and like people just, we don't have like massive followings. And if that's the case, then you have to be more interactive with the marketing that you do. So like when you post content, or if you are like, I'll just give an example before we get to the content. But for me, when I used to host master classes a little bit more regularly. Like right now we'll do them probably once a quarter, maybe twice a quarter, but I used to host them a lot more. And the only way that I could get people to show up was not from posting, because I had a small following. I would sit on my phone and I would just go down the list, and I would just like would send voice memo. Hey, what's going on? I'm hosting this event. I would love for you to come because of X, Y, and Z. Next person. Hey, I'm doing this thing. And I would just like spend hours trying to get enough yeses. And if someone didn't respond to the first message, I'd come back the next day. Hey, just wanted to swing back around. Did you get the chance to listen to that message? But I would send so many invites because I knew, and this applies to if you're a PT practice owner, and you want to go do workshops in gyms, like it applies in so many ways. But I knew that if like industry standard for like webinars and stuff like that, or master classes or events is typically about 30 to 40% of the people that say yes will come. So if I need 20 people to come, I need 60 to 75 yeses. So I would just sit and I would rip and I would keep going, and then I would keep doing that. And that was the only way that I could get enough people to come to an event that I was excited to host. So like that's just an example of just being I don't want to say gritty, but yeah, being gritty, and just like, be like, all right, I don't have an audience yet. Well, what do I need to do to get people to show up so I can provide them value? And what does that do? Like, yeah, sure, maybe 5-10% of those people will want to work with me, but the rest of them will be like, wow, that was super helpful. Thanks, Matt. I'm gonna go tell my friends about it. And it just helps you build in the beginning when you don't have anything.
Mhm.
So, that's one example. But outside of the webinar masterclass experience, like just the same thing applies to social media. And this is what we have. This is, if you guys have followed me on social media, you've gotten a message from me, right? Like everybody who's in our space gets a message. I get a lot of spammy people from all over. I'm like, I'm not going to send you a message, but like, everybody that that follows our account will get a message, and it's just a welcome message. And our goal is just anybody that comes in, how can I connect with them and how can I help them? How can I and that's the mindset you have to go in, because I know a lot of people go into it, and any follower they get or any lead they get is, how can I make a sale? How can I make a sale? And that's the same mindset that we talked about earlier of just being exhausted and burnout and only doing it for the outcome, not actually enjoying the process. And if you do that, the amount of people that actually want to work with you today is again less than probably 5%. It's like 1 to 3% is typical. Okay. So like if you're sending 100, welcome messages, you might book maybe 5 calls, let's just say. Maybe it depends on how the quality, but let's just say 5.
Yeah.
But what about the other 95? How can I help them? Can I send them a free YouTube video? Can I connect them with my friend Morgan, who helps people, who helps brick and mortar PTs? How can I be of service to this person? And that's how I really think of like our quote unquote sales process is like, we have, when we find out they have a problem, we'll invite them to a free strategy call. Can we provide them value and show them, here's the steps you need to take to get this result? And at the end, it's like, we can help you with that, or you can do it on your own. But like, how can I provide so much clarity and value to where people feel empowered by your sales process and not sleazy, slimy feeling, right? So that's like the goal. And we're still kind of talking sales, not necessarily getting to marketing yet, but I always actually start with sales first. So it's like, what's your offer? What's your sales process? Which we kind of just discovered there of, being scrappy, messaging people, helping them, and a certain percentage of them are going to want support. And then, when it comes to marketing, there's many things you can do, but at first is just how much free value can you provide to your immediate like networking community, and you just pick one platform and try to build up to posting, 5 times a week. If you can do 1 a week, cool, but just build up to that. And then once you're doing that consistent, honestly, what we found that works really well is just boosting some of our top performing posts as like the most beginner level strategy, because it'll get you new followers every day, and you can reach out, see how can I help you today,
Yeah.
So that was a long-winded one. I don't know if I answered your question or not, but I just got excited and went off.
Yeah, no. I love it. And I love hearing about, like the really like specific strategies that you're incorporating. And, like it's so good to hear from, like another like expert in this field about like the manual effort that you have to put in at the beginning, kind of like highlighting the piece of like there's no like easy way. Like you're going to have to do hard work, manual work, because that takes time when you're first getting started. Like with like the method that you're describing, like it reminds me a lot of this like mini course that I have that's called the 100 challenge, and it's part of like my bigger program. But it's like an event and a mini course and a thing that I made up, I think in 2021, to give structure to like everything that you were just talking about, where it's like, okay, I've started my practice. I've started a business where I see clients. How do I get them? You go out and find them. That's how you get them at first. And the way that the 100 challenge works is you essentially create a list of 100 names and their contact information. So whether you have like personal contacts or like you said, like your followers online, make a list of everybody. And then you reach out to everybody. And just like the more reps that you do, and this I guess kind of is related to exercise again too, like the less scary it is to reach out to people and own the fact that you operate a business. Like that's another like big fear that people have to get over. Like they'll just sit and like wait and hope that somebody like calls them and wants to see them for therapy or whatever it is. But like if nobody knows that you exist, nobody's gonna call you. And so like we have our list of 100 reps that we're going to do. We do our 100 outreach, and successfully completing the 100 challenge means that you attempted to contact 100 people. And that's it. That's all you
Great.
do.
It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now when you reached out to them for PT practice, I'm curious what that looked like. Like, were you offering like hey, I'd love to do a free session, or was it just like reaching out and telling them that you started a business?
So I would say typically it's the latter. So it's kind of like this first like initial thing for most people of like, oh my God, like I have a business and like I have to tell people about it. And just like that, like fear, getting past that. So it's like 100 times reaching out to whether it's like personal contacts, like friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, your dog walking group, like just anybody that you know, and saying, hello, I'm Morgan Meese. I'm a physical therapist, and I am so excited that I just started my own practice where I work with athletes and help them work out without any pain. I see people one-on-one in my garage gym, and that's how it works. And just like owning all of it. And then also reaching out to other providers. So
Yeah,
like I
that's
have
good.
found that to be just awesome, especially in terms of just having like emotional support through the process, reaching out to like other PTs that are doing their own thing, other OTs, speech therapists, mental health therapists, physicians, like functional medicine providers, any other like health provider that also accepts direct payment from their clients are great people to reach out to, especially like if they are the business owner themselves. It just creates this like amazing network of people who understand what you're going through. So that's kind of how it starts, and then from there, of course, as we know, once you become a little bit more comfortable talking about what you do and how it works and what the offer specifically is to help people, you can always make more calls to action that way.
Cool. I love that. I love that baby step progression. I think
Yeah.
that's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's amazing what can happen, you guys, when you just like put in this like little effort of putting in just like reps day after day after day, because like whether it's like Matt's approach or like this 100 challenge approach,
Yeah.
I know people who have done this challenge, which is it's as simple as it sounds. Like somebody who did it last summer, she reached out to 100 people and got 17 clients for her practice.
That's huge. That's like life changing right there. 17 clients is a lot, you know?
Yeah. Not typical results, probably, like
No,
Matt
that's
and I were
okay.
talking
That's
about.
okay. That's okay. But still, you can be
But
like, you're gonna if you make a landing page, you'll be like, this one client did this. She's your
yeah,
case study, you know?
yeah, yeah, and it's just like it's so cool to like think about how like all this input that we do will eventually, like, you have to like kind of like trust that process, that like with enough input and with enough reps, like the statistics are in your favor that it's going to work out. You just have
Yeah.
to start.
Yeah. Assuming your offer is decent, or it's good enough.
Assuming
You know what I
everything is
mean?
okay.
Like
Yeah,
assume everything
everything
is fine. But you're right. No, for and that's why you get like a business coach or consultant or something,
Yeah.
like so you're on at least the right track.
For more information on that, you can visit mattshiver.com or morganmeese.com.
Shameless plugging. Shameless plugging.
Yeah, but anyway, so like I'm glad that we're like talking about this, putting like some specific action steps out there. And I think, like specifically for people who are listening to this podcast, like typically they are physical therapists, occupational therapists, people who are kind of like in the healthcare realm and they want to start working for themselves. I guess, Matt, like in your experience, like taking people from those like in-person healthcare positions to offering health services online, I know that healthcare providers can be like apprehensive about doing that. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you like walk people through that process and what like their offers kind of look like?
Yeah, that's great. And this is I'll just start off by saying this is still definitely a gray area. Like, there's certain thing. A lot of it does come down to risk tolerance, right? I mean, because ultimately, like, yeah, it's your life, it's your decision of like, what do I really want to do with my time? And I think that's the most important thing. Like for me, like, I really wanted to go online, and I don't practice, and I typically don't encourage people practicing telehealth. If they do want to do telehealth, that's great, but you do have to, you have to do documentation. You do have to treat within like your state, unless, yeah, I think I'm not sure how the compact works with telehealth. So that's like one way to go, and that's like, if you go telehealth, you're definitely more like not in the gray zone. It's definitely like black and white. What can I not do? The other area is doing more health coaching or performance training. So for me, I was always a strength and conditioning coach before I was a physical therapist. So I was already doing all of that. I'm practicing under a CSCS, which just recently expired. I was so sad when I got my
No.
email. I was like, oh no, I forgot to renew it. So I've got to
Oh,
I'm
no.
gonna figure out something. But yeah,
It's
whatever.
so much continuing education,
Well,
Matt.
I just unsubscribe from everything, and then I get an email. You know what I mean? I try to have inbox zero. So if I see anything that I don't read, unsubscribe, and then I just get hit with an email. It's like, you forgot to do this. I'm like, no. But different conversation. I hope you guys are being entertained by this. This is fun. Yeah. So the other avenue is doing more performance training that could be more around like, weight loss. It could be around strength and conditioning. It could be, yeah, those are probably the two main realms, or some like mindset work. It could be like that. But typically health coaching online involves like, giving somebody a plan and holding them accountable to that plan. Where it gets gray is if you're treating for pain online. And I know there's some people that do it, and that's up to you. I don't know if I would do that. That's just, I just don't, it's definitely gray, more on the red side of like, and if you do treat pain for pain, there's certain things like I'm gonna just drop her because I think she's the person I go to for all this. I'm not an expert in this. I'm an expert in marketing and sales, so that's what I do. But we do have somebody at there. Her name's Barbara from Wellness Law, and she helps people protect their license. And every PT and chiropractor or health professional we work with, we always send them over there, and she's able to help them create agreements and all that stuff. And she's hosted masterclass for us, everything too. So I by no means am the expert when it comes to that, but I will share some of the stuff that she shared with me.
Sure.
So number one is if you are going to be doing a PT practice and you want to serve people online, if it's not telehealth, you actually technically want to have two separate LLCs. Okay, so the reason for that is that you technically want to have, it's kind of like, you're not supposed to mix business and personal finances. So for taxes, IRS will come after you, and it's like, oh, the corporate veil. Same thing happens here, right? So like if you're offering online services and it's under a PT business, technically there's more room for an attorney, or if anything ever happened, to come through that and be like, well, it's the same business. So how do we know what it is? So if you want to try to cross all your T's and dot all your I's, typically if someone comes in, we will have them separate their business out and have LLC 1, LLC 2 if they're already an existing provider. Again, that's up to you. It's jumping through a lot of hoops, I know, but if you want to like be more black and white and not in the gray zone, I'm always for taking the extra steps. So that's like kind of logistics. Number one is just making sure your entities are separate. And when you're providing the online coaching service, you just need to be very clear that this is not telehealth. This is not physical therapy. I'm not providing that. I'm providing strength and conditioning, general strength and conditioning advice to help you, improve your back squat, not get stronger and stuff like that. So that's important, because the biggest area, this is also I pulled from Barbara too, is like the biggest area where you cross into the gray zone is where if you're offering somebody an individualized assessment and an individualized evaluation, and you find an impairment in that assessment or evaluation, and you prescribe exercise, which is what we do as physical therapists, to solve that specific ailment, impairment, it's really hard to say, is this PT or is this strength and conditioning? So typically my other rule of thumb recommendation is to have a more generalized assessment process, to where like everyone goes through a very similar onboarding process, so that you're not doing like things that you would do in PT of like, show me your exact joint range of motion here, we're going to do this, and like manual muscle, like you're definitely in the gray zone. So yeah, general. So I hope I didn't scare everybody away, but I also want to make sure everyone is like aware of this, because it's not like like I've seen some people market like virtual physical therapy or online physical therapy, and they're teaching the health coaching model, and that's like red flags like all over it. Like from me looking in, and also from what I've heard from Barbara. Again, that's just one attorney. I don't know if she's the one, but like I really enjoyed our conversations. But yeah, if you're doing like virtual therapy and you're treating pain and you're doing assessments and you're calling it coaching, I don't recommend it. I just don't. Okay. So like I typically help most of the clients we help, some of them have pain, but they know that they're doing that, and that's on them. Like, so we'll typically help people who want to like improve like weight loss, strength and conditioning, or mindset work, who are PTs who want to do that. That seems to be a much better progression. And typically with that, you'd have a generalized assessment they would fill out, and you would create a plan for them. Okay. And it's a general plan. It's not treating a specific injury or area, right? And then from there, there's weekly check-ins that are done it could be done via text message, email, and then like a monthly, typically one-on-one call, where you're on a call just asking, how are things going? Cool. What can we update? Cool. I'm going to give you some new exercises that'll keep progressing you towards your general health goals. So that's typically how it's designed. It's much more virtual. It's not It's not like Zoom calls, live Zoom calls, or meeting with people on a weekly basis. It's more exercise programming and progression. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that'll be really helpful for everybody to hear. And like that's what my approach to things. I like that you brought up the two LLCs. I think like for somebody who is in practice and like they very much, want to be like 50-50, like in person and online, I think that makes like a lot of sense, to separate things. With all of that just being like very clear about what it is that you're offering. What I always tell people is like if you're going to be offering like physical therapy services and like wellness services, which I guess could be like anything that's not physical therapy, whether it's in person or online, you should write out like very clear and firm definitions of what each
Definitely.
service encompasses and just click new Google Doc, open up a document, call it policies and procedures, and write your definitions in there so that you have it written down to refer to in the future whenever you come across a potential client that is interested in working with you and they tell you whatever they have going on and you aren't sure like which bucket they fall into. You can refer to your previously written definitions with clear like bulleted criteria of physical therapy is appropriate for XYZ, not for ABC.
Yeah.
And the same like for wellness services, so that you can just like look at those definitions and that will help you make a decision on the person who is standing in front of you. And then you just operate off of that same policy every time that you go to work with somebody. Because I think we're like sometimes like people get tripped up is like they keep all this information in their head and then they try to make decisions on the fly and they can't remember like which side of the gray
Yeah.
zone they're on and like what's going on and they panic. But if you have like very clear cut definitions for everything and you know what buckets you're going to put people in, what buckets your offers go into, you should be fine, and like Matt said, like definitely do your own like due diligence and look into it
Mhm.
yourself. Call Barbara.
She's great.
We'll
She's awesome. I've given her so much business. She's like,
yeah.
thank you. I'm like, everyone asks me how, because that's the number one question I get all the time.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, I'm not the attorney. I'm not the expert in this. Like I do sales, marketing, and offer creation, like
Yeah.
you protecting your license is your responsibility. And
Yeah.
like when you get to the point where you're starting to make money, I highly recommend getting all of your documents and your business audited by an attorney. Like, especially if you're doing six figures, like you don't want to mess that. You don't want to lose that. You know what I mean? So like, just do the investment when you have cash. Like when you're getting started, it's okay if you're like, I think I might be in the gray zone. That's okay. Like you're still so young and you're starting a business. Like get some cash under you. But like once you are doing, consistently like 10 grand a month plus, like get some real like trained eyes in there and make that investment, because it's just gonna feel so much better. You're gonna feel way more confident in your product and service when you're like, good, I know everything's fine. I just gotta market. I just gotta help more people. Versus like, am I doing this legally? I don't know. Like you just don't want to be answering that question because it'll show up in your marketing and sales because you're unconfident of like, how am I actually helping this person? What is it
Yeah.
actually? You know what I mean? So
Yeah, absolutely. And that I think also like speaks to just like the power of having a specific offer and knowing exactly how it works, exactly who it's for, the exact steps that go into it. That makes it so much like clearer, I think, from like both like marketing and sales, but also the legal aspect of being like, here is this thing that I know that I can legally sell because like this is what it is. And it's not as, individualized or like, seeing how things go as like typical, like traditional physical therapy can be.
for sure. And then I'm curious, like I have some just general questions and one around like hybrid, right? Because like they want the hybrid model where they come in, they get the in-person like treatment, and they transition into the online space. I'm not sure either. I honestly think that would be kind of still more telehealth, unless like they totally transition and are just a wellness client. And then at that point, I imagine it would be good to have them sign another agreement saying, I'm now transitioning into wellness. This is the service that I'm getting,
Mm-hmm.
and any other service provided before that is not part of this. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I know that's like lots of crossing I's and or no, crossing T's and
Yeah.
dotting I's,
Yeah.
but that was the only thought I had of how would that work,
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm right with you. Like I have different like consent waivers for wellness and physical therapy services, that say like I understand even though like the person I'm seeing has these
Mhm.
qualifications. I am receiving this specific
Mm.
service that includes these specific things, not physical therapy, and just like making sure that like that is signed and understood and all of that, so that it's clear, because just like the clearer everything is, the easier your life is going to be, like in many facets. Yeah, that's how I think I would go about it, and just being very clear about the type of service that you're offering. And even if like you're seeing somebody like in person, they transition to online, if they are going across state boundaries and everything, like you just understanding like what service you are offering, and if you do require licensure to do so, having that,
Yeah.
and like keeping yourself accountable to the laws that we know of. I think there is like some of it, I think, and I don't know if like if you agree with this, but I think some of it is just like our laws like still are catching up to technology. So, like we might see clarification on like the legal aspects of things within the next like decade. We might not, but I think like that's causing like some of the issue and the friction with therapists and healthcare providers going online. But all we can do is review like the laws ourselves, call our Barbaras, and make like our best decisions possible based on like our clinical judgment.
Yeah, I think so. And then also, like, it comes down kind of like, what do you want to do? Like, I've seen a lot of people decide I'm not going to start an online thing, or I'm not going to do this thing because I have X, Y, and Z. And I get that if like that's the goal, but I also like I always just want to stress like, what do you want to create in your life? Like, if you want to create an online business and the only thing that's holding you back is this, like, I would still encourage you to go do it, right? Like you don't, but do it smart, but don't let that be the only reason that you don't get started, period, right? I think there's also, I think another area there might be some like confusion on is like, to be an online coach, you don't really need any certifications. So when someone comes in with a DPT background, it doesn't have any of those certifications, technically they can do that, but then if they were sued or anything were to happen, would it go back toward their DPT license, or would they be sued personally? Like, what does that look like? And I don't think we have an answer for that either.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. And it like at the same time, I also haven't heard of that happening to anybody, where
No.
like a client sues them in some capacity and it goes back to that. Like from my understanding, there would need to be like some kind of like report to your state board for the licensure, and the board would contact you and talk to you about like, hey Morix, like
Yeah.
what are you doing? What's going on? And there would be like more of a discussion and all of that stuff. But I don't know. Like, you don't need a certification to do online coaching. Like, it's one
Yeah.
of the like unprotected terms. Like anybody can call themselves a coach. Anybody can be a fitness coach. Anybody can be a health coach. Anybody can use the term personal trainer.
Yeah.
Certified personal trainer is a thing, but anybody can say they're a personal trainer, which is both like freeing but also kind of scary at the same time. That was one like Con Ed thing that I did for the CSCS, is they like talked about this like thing of like it's easy to get into personal training, but it also like opens things up to where like anybody can call themselves a personal
Yeah.
trainer, because there's like less qualifications to get there. And you just, with whatever kind of coaching that you're doing, if you do have a certification, I think the positive to it is that you will receive language as to what the scope of practice is, and like what the services like typically consist of. Like with my wellness coaching certification, the CSCS, like the governing bodies have language for you about what's included in the scope of practice, which you can kind of look to help create the definitions in your business. I'm just not sure if like anything crazy enough has happened to where, like the FSBPT like has to get involved and like figure things out. So
No.
hopefully we don't ever see anything crazy happen.
No, I don't think so either. I think as long and two, like if anything were to happen, like your first couple clients that you're gonna have, period, are gonna be those 100 people that you messaged, right?
Yeah.
So like they're gonna be your friends and family and your near peers. You're not gonna get sued or reported from those people. You're probably
No.
not really gonna get like the chances are gonna increase when you have like a 7-figure plus business. But that's why it's like when you're getting started, you don't have to worry about all this. And I hope it didn't scare you either,
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
talking about this. I feel like we kind of went down like this rabbit hole. I was like, ah. I hope we didn't scare you like that to do that, because like when you're getting started, you don't need all that stuff. But once you're making 10K, just hope that the note we kind of finish that on is just go get your stuff checked out. Go get your
Oh,
stuff checked out, and you're gonna be fine.
yeah. Like, you're small potatoes right now. There's much bigger fish to fry. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes on in corporate healthcare that when you're a small potato and nobody's looking at you, like wondering like what exactly you're doing. So everything will be fine. For me
It
and
will.
Matt, everything is fine. Don't worry. And lastly, Matt, as we are coming to a close for today, can you share with us a little bit more about what you have to offer, sir, how you work with people? Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So our core flagship offer is called the Coaches Growth Accelerator, and it's a health coaching offer that teaches health coaches on how to grow a business. So we go through a lot of what I talked about earlier in the process of, what's your offer? What's it priced at? Who's it for? How do you sell it? Then how do you market it? We start with organic, and then we go into paid ads and all that stuff too. So it's a 6-month mentorship program, and it's a ton of fun. And you get have a one-on-one support coach that you'll be paired with, and an awesome community. So I love what I do. It's so fun. My team we've just been building a team and just adding some really rock star players here in the past couple months, and it's fun. I get to market and create content for something that I'm really like proud of. So it's fun.
That's awesome. And for you guys listening, like this could be you. You could get started on your business and also get to do things and make things that you're proud of and that you enjoy and live your life the way that you want to live it. So
You can.
just something to think about. Where is the best place for people to find you, Matt?
Yeah, I create content on Instagram and YouTube primarily right now. So I've got Instagram. They're both at Dr. Matt Shiver. So Dr. Matt Shiver on YouTube and Instagram are the best two places to find me.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here and like sharing all the things. I know that this was really helpful for everybody listening.
Yeah, thank you for being a great host. This was so fun.
Well, I'm glad that you had a good time. Just a hangout sesh with internet friends. Well, awesome. Okay, and thank you everybody for listening, for watching, for joining us here today. Again, if you want to reach out to Matt, we'll leave his links down in the description below. If you are looking for a business coach, Matt, myself, you can also find my links down below to check out the different offers that we have for business coaching and helping you, go from DPT to CEO.
Boom.
Crazy. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.